Peace, everyone, and welcome to the Israelite Nation Worldwide Ministries Friday night Bible discussion. Tonight, I am your host, Rachel, from the Atlanta branch, and I am super excited to be here. Before we delve into tonight's juicy topic, I would love for my panel to join me so that we can do some quick intros and get into it. So let's have the panel come up. We have Elder Donna.
Peace.
Peace.
And Elder Avery joining me tonight. How's everyone doing?
Good.
Great.
Wonderful to hear. Well, tonight's title is called What's Love Got to Do with It? I think this is super fitting because of the time that we're in, the season. We're jumping into their Valentine's Day. And as we know, that has some really interesting origins to it as well. But overall, I've just been hearing a lot of messages about love. And what's really funny is even in creating this slide deck here tonight, it was funny because some of the templates that they had were presentations or decks for love messages from a Christianity standpoint. And it just got me thinking, like, I think a lot of people, when they think of God, they think of God as just this being of love, and the only emotion that he feels is love, and that's all he gives, and that's what he wants. Love for the world, love for everyone. So with that said, I do just want to turn it over to my panel and just ask you all, what's your thoughts when you hear God being described from other religious groups? What are some of the things that you often hear? What are your thoughts on that?
Well, for me, I think of the recent incident that occurred, and I believe it was Memphis. When I think about people's love, I think about the children of slavery. And it seems like one God love seems to be, our turmoil. So why does God love everybody, but he doesn't love the children of Israel? Children of Jacob, I should say.
That's a great point, Elder Avery. Anyone else before we get into my first official question for the panel?
You want to go, Levi?
I can go. I think my thought is has like the idea of that God is just always love, 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 and lovey-dovey. I think that idea kind of proves to you that whoever came up with it did not read past Exodus. That's definitely not how it is. I think we'll probably get into it all in tonight, but the very concept of love, there can never be true love unless there's truth and trust. So that's all I'll say for now.
Excellent point, Levi and Elder Avery. And what about you, Elder Donna?
I agree with Elder Avery and Levi, but I would also say that the whole concept where you see other philosophies have this God of love, we know that it's not our God, the God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. But what I also think is that it's so easy for them to do what they do, to love their God. It's just so easy. It's such a deception because it's based on a foundation of lie. So as Levi said, there's no real love without truth as the foundation. And I think what makes these other philosophies so popular and people can gravitate to it because it's just easy to say these things, but in reality your actions are different, right? If you're all Christians, why are you hurting my people? They're Christians like you. Why do they suffer? Why do they get beat down? Why is it so many injustices against us? So to me, I just think it's just a deception to get people to come in and serve their God, but not the true and living God.
1,000% agree with the panel. I love everything that you said. And something that I do want to highlight and touch on that was mentioned is this idea of God just being a being filled with love does not match up to the God that is described in the Bible, right? So tonight we're going to get to know, who is the God of Israel? Who is the God of Israel? Is he this being of love, or are there more layers to him? Does he feel more emotions? So let's get to know him. So moderator, if you could go ahead and pull up my first slide. I want to start off with this, and we've sort of already got the conversation going, but to my panel and even those in the chat, I want to ask each of you, how would you describe God? How would you describe the God of Israel?
Well, when I see this, how would you describe God? I immediately go to Exodus. And when the God of Israel was introducing himself to Moses, he said, I am that I am. And to me, it's like there's no words to express the excellence, the perfection, the greatness of the God of Israel, right? But he follows suit by saying, I'm the God of your fathers, the God of Abraham, the God of Isaac, and the God of Jacob. And when you think about those patriarchs and what they stood for and what they did and their obedience and their sacrifices, all of that is him. You know what I'm saying? All of that is him. Our legacy, our heritage is all connected to that name. So for me, it's really hard to put words into what my God is. There's nothing greater. He's all powerful. He loves us as a people.
Yes.
He's a God of truth. He's merciful, long suffering, because he has to be patient to deal with us. But yeah, I just think I am that I am.
I love that. It's funny because it's like in simplicity, there's so much power, right? I am that I am, I come as I am, right? And you touched on a lot of really great descriptions that we often don't hear. But what I love that you mentioned, Elder Donna, is he does love us. And, you know, on this panel, we're not saying that love doesn't exist. But I think there are a lot of stipulations that come with that love and a way that we have to act and carry ourselves. And so it's going to be interesting when we delve in that tonight. Elder Avery Levi, what about you? How would you describe the God of Israel?
Well, I like the description that the scriptures describe him. He's the Almighty Spirit of truth. All those who worship him must worship him in spirit and truth. And so we hear this word truth so much. Levi, you mentioned it. Elder Donna, you mentioned it. And when you think about building a home, it has to start on the foundation of truth. So he is a truth, but he also loves us. And that's why he punishes us, because he loves us. But he punishes us based on his truth. So I think of him as a truth, Almighty Spirit of truth.
Yes, thank you, Elder Avery. I love everything that you mentioned there. I think even in your words, you can see the hierarchy, the almighty power. So no other God is going to come before our God, and that foundation of truth. I love that you highlighted that because, like Elder Donna mentioned, so many have a foundation of lies because it's easier. But as we know, when you're building a house, if that foundation isn't strong, it's going to crack through, it's going to fall. So I love that analogy. And then finally, Levi, how would you describe the God of Israel? Big task there.
I kind of think both elders took the words right out of my mouth. So I think what how I would describe the God of Israel is a lot what Elder Donna and Elder Avery were saying about him representing what truth is on top of our first three patriarchs, Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, all showing attributes that represent who our God is.
Absolutely.
If I had to pick one thing, I would say that kind of also leaning into the truth side of things, he's very straightforward. Just like when Elder Donna was speaking, he said, I am that I am, you know? It's straightforward. He's simple. He cuts to the point, you know? There's no roundabout way. He has a clear point, and he's going to get that message through. There's no confusion with our God.
Exactly.
You know what he's talking about, and you know, like you just know what he's talking about. You know what he means. You know what he is out to do. I think that's kind of all I have to say right now, because like I
No,
said,
it's great. Something that I want to pull out from what you said is you mentioned the patriarchies, right? Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, and how they embody him. I know we had a previous comment from, I believe, Dashonte Owens, who mentioned that we are made in his likeness. And I feel like a lot of people forget that, right? We're made in his likeness. And so just as we feel emotions, maybe the God of Israel also feels those emotions. So if you like what you're hearing, put some sevens in the chat, some fires. Be sure to give this video a thumbs up. Get all your comments. We love engagement. So if you really want to support the Israelite Nation Worldwide Ministries, please comment, like, share this video. So I love engagement. And I so appreciate all those that tune in and love to comment on Friday nights. So I want to play a little game. Moderator, can you bring up slide 2 for me? So in this game, I want to play it kind of like Jeopardy, where a question is put up on the board and you have to guess what is the most common answer, right? That's the basics of Jeopardy. So I want to know from my panel and the audience, what words would non-Israelites use to describe God? What words do you often see them describe when it comes to God? I'm curious. I want to see if we're correct. I have a little video to see if anyone guesses some of those answers. But panel, just shout out a few words to me. What do you see? We know love. I always hear love. Anything else?
I used to be a non-Israelite, so I think I remember one word. One of the words I think was omniscient. They used to use that word a lot, omniscient.
Okay, got it. That's a new one for me as an Israelite. Love the Go ahead, Elder Donna.
Well, I think two things. Number one, they tend to say he's so forgiving. And then a lot of times when we as a people suffer, we're so quick to forgive our perpetrator because they see this God as always forgiving God, but they don't understand it's for his family. It's not for the world. Yeah, and I was going to say the other one is they describe him as Jesus. When we all know that's a lie. So
yeah, great job, commenters. I see omnipotent. That's a new word for me. I haven't seen.
Oh, Yahweh, I see that.
I've seen we said love, grace. Yes, these are all great examples. Thank you.
There's another one too.
Yes, Elder Avery.
No. Jehovah, I think Jehovah Jireh or something. I can't remember. It's been so long.
So many different things. I see the Holy Trinity. Levi, any guesses before we see if any of these guesses are correct? I love all the feedback I'm getting in the chat. Some of y'all are on the nose. I think we're going to see some of these pop up.
I don't know if I have an exact word, but I feel like a lot of the way he's portrayed is like soft spoken.
That's a great point, actually.
Soft spoken. I think that is how. Yeah, he's gentle. Yes,
I agree, because that depiction they have of Jesus, whatever, he seems a very fragile type, and he's European or Gentile.
Babies on wings, all that.
Exactly.
That's how he's portrayed.
Are y'all reading the Bible? Like, do y'all ever read?
What Bible are you reading?
Yes.
Which one? I love that you pointed that out, because when we read the Bible, it's like God's voice is thunder. Like, have you heard thunder outside? It's terrifying. So I love that you added that point. This gentleness, this prettiness, this lightness, this whiteness. So I'm going to pull up a video. And if you see one of your words appear in this video, I want you to just put it in the chat. Put a 7 for me, okay? If you got it. If you're able to guess what are some common words that non-Israelites use to describe God. So moderator, can you go ahead and play that video for me? Very interesting.
In my life and in scripture and all over the place, that's my deepest experience of God, to say that he is love.
Who God is, old white guy, beard on a cloud, right? No.
He's just a real constant. He never lets you down.
God as a father of a family, a great big family that he loves.
The Father, the Son, and the Holy Spirit. It's one God. And for me, God is the only creator of everything. That's what God is for me.
God is...
All right, the video stopped. I'm very interested to see in the chat if we got any 7s, if you saw. But as we see there, we heard some interesting things. From the start, we heard love, right? That was a very common one. We got the image of, I think you said a white guy with long hair, Gentile, right? There was a lot of gentleness, a lot of peace, and there was some validity, right? A father of a family, I think someone mentioned. I think someone mentioned following rules, etc. But it's just very interesting to see the words that are used to describe overall, and what's also missing from some of the God's description. Again, as we know, the God that they're describing is clearly not the one in the Bible, but I want to get into some of the missing descriptions that we often see. And so with that, I would like to go to slide number 3. Moderator, thank you so much. and we are going to get into some of the characteristics we often see missing from this description of God, of Israel. So the first one I have is jealous. I feel like you cannot talk about the God of Israel and describe him without mentioning one of his biggest characteristics, which is jealousy. So would any of my panel members like to read Exodus chapter 20, verse 5, so we can delve in a little bit?
I can read.
Go ahead, Levi.
All right. Verse 5. Thou shalt not bow down thyself to them, nor serve them. For I, the Lord thy God, am a jealous God, visiting the iniquity of the fathers upon the children unto the third and fourth generation of them that hate me.
Great. And can you go ahead and read that next one, since it's only one verse?
Verse 14.
Mhm.
For thou shalt worship no other God, for the Lord whose name is jealous is a jealous God.
Great. Thank you, Levi. Again, as I mentioned, I feel like you can't describe the God of Israel without mentioning one of his characteristics, which is that he's jealous, right? It even says in Exodus chapter 20, verse 5, I am a jealous God. And when we read the law, statutes, and commandments, one of the most prominent ones there that we see oftentimes is to not serve any other God. Because like it was mentioned, we have to put things in perspective of us, right? We were made in his likeness, his image. God of Israel is our father, right? He takes care of us. He invests in us. He's blessed us. And so for us to go back away from him or to follow another God is like saying, I want another daddy. I want another father. How would you feel, Elder Avery, if one of your children did that? If one of your children wanted another father, how would that make you feel?
As a father, it would want me to kick them out the house. Kick them out of the house. Turn my back on them. Because here, when you were just a baby, who was wiping your backside? You know, who had to take the diapers out? Who had to feed your belly? Who had to provide for you food, shelter, and clothing? You know, it was your parents. So for you now to grow up and you know more than your dad, or you know what's best for you, of course, that would make me angry. That would, have the emotions that a normal dad, I think, would have.
Exactly. Love that perspective.
Mm-hmm.
Any other comments from my panel?
Yeah, I just want to say that, oftentimes when I look at the atrocities that happen against the children of Jacob, even the unfairness and injustices that we have to deal with as Israelites, you can't help but to say, why? Not so much why, but how can the God of Israel let this, how can the God of Israel let this happen to his children? And stay with me. I say this because when the situation happened to that young man in Memphis, it was brutal, right? I couldn't even watch the video. I watched the interview with his mother, and that kind of got me emotional. But the question begs itself to say, how can God of Israel let this happen? And the answer to that is severalfold. One is we were disobedient as a people, but the God of Israel is jealous. Like, you, as Elder Avery said, he's reared you up. He's given you life. He's offered you this wonderful culture, heritage, spirituality, but you rejected it. And you go and you serve a fat Gentile coming down the chimney, or a cross, or all these things that are contrary. And you're happy doing it, even though you're suffering. So it's like, how would any parent feel? I would be livid. I would be jealous. And yes, I would beat your behind if you did that as my child. So that's how he could let it happen. And there's some, horrible things that have happened to our people. We've been lynched, we've been skinned, we've been, dragged by trucks, all kinds of manner of craziness. But it just shows you that this God is not playing. When you are not obedient and following his way, you will suffer, and you will suffer badly.
Absolutely.
C. Bubba Smith says, I get nervous when I even think about when I gave the other gods a place in my life. That's true.
Amen.
Absolutely.
And
now,
go ahead, Elder Avery.
No, now that your eyes are open, so you see, like, wow, how foolish it can be. But he knows us. He understands that the moment we start getting, he's giving us what we desire. We have a tendency, that's our history, to turn back, to be followers.
Yeah.
So you're absolutely right, Elder Don. I do I do feel like, man, when is the justice going to come? But, you know, we messed up. Our forefathers messed up. And like you say, Jacob, they do things with so much zeal, so much zeal. And these are not just sin. These are abomination to our Father. So, you know, you can see this side, this attribute of our Father, that he, you know, he is, you know, he's a terrible God, as the scripture says. He's a terrible God.
Yes. I love that. Go ahead, Levi.
I also wanted to add, one thing that kind of came to mind was the distinct separation. What you were talking about, Odadana, about how this terrible thing was happening to this young Black man, and just what's been happening to the Black people here in America for hundreds of years. There's not a single atrocity on this earth that was as bad as the entirety of the slave trade. That is one of the most famous, most notable events. It ruined an entire legacy of people. And you have to notice how it's only a specific people. There was a separation. This is only happening to the children of God, the Jacobites, Israel. That's only happening to us. So when we were watching that video, the lady said how God is like a family. I don't think she understands who that family is.
Yeah, great.
I feel like a lot of Christians today, they think that family is everyone on earth. I remember I was back in second grade, and you know, someone asked me what my culture, my religion was. I said, I'm an Israelite. And the teacher's like, oh, well, we're all Israelites. And I'm looking at her like,
what?
I'm gonna see you at Sabbath next week? Like, what do you mean? But like, that's what I mean. They don't understand that there's a distinct separation. And I feel like Jacob doesn't understand that either. I don't know if I feel comfortable speaking too much on what happened in Memphis personally, but I do know that I feel like that there were things that can be done to almost avoid that situation. We talked about how we always talk about how having a strong spiritual connection is important. And I feel like when you are messing with these gods, like, you have to look at it this way. Those same police officers that did that to that young man were out a few months ago doing Christmas. And you were out there serving that exact same God, participating in that exact same culture. So it's hurting me deeply, but it also frustrated me because I'm seeing my people hurt like this on a daily basis, and you're trying to teach them and show them a way, but they're not changing. And so in some way, I can also relate to the God of Israel about how he feels. I think we saw the comment earlier. God has emotions.
Exactly.
I don't see him as just a stoneless face. He hears us. He hears our cries, but he can't save you if you're not calling on his name. If you're saying, Jesus, help me, that's not the God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob's name. He can't help you.
He can't.
So,
if you have the taste of swine on your lips and you're praying in the wrong direction, or your eyes are closed and your hands are clasped, he can't. He can't.
You're cutting yourself off from that power. So that's just kind of my take on it.
No, I love all of y'all's perspectives, because what I think it highlights is, again, we have emotions. And although love is there, from love, so many other emotions can come out of that. We had the parent perspective, right? Because I loved you and put so much into you, and you turned your back on me, there has to be consequences, right? There has to be conditions. And we're going to get into what those conditions are, right? To love the God of Israel and for him to love you back. But I think it's so important to really read and understand the word that we have been given, and really just shed off, what society tells us and feeds us constantly, again, about that gentle voice, like Levi said, this Gentile coming to just give peace and love to every single buddy, which we know is not true. It's not true. The God of Israel, like Levi said, has a family, a specific family that he has chosen to love. And with that love comes a lot of stipulations, comes a lot of emotions. And as a child, it's so important for us to know our Father, to know what he loves, to know what he doesn't love from us, right? So that we can be the best children to him, the best servants to him. So I love those points.
I just want to add, because I think, for those of us that are coming back home and starting to learn and come into knowledge of self as an Israelite, there's so many things that we have to do away with as far as how we've been indoctrinated in the world, right? And that perception of that, this God is loving, we have to kind of shed some of that to the point where some people think that it's unconditional, but it's conditional. There's certain requirements for this God to show his love towards you. And I think for those folks that are new coming into the nation, need to maybe think about that, because a lot of what we've learned over the years of doing wrong is still in us. Sometimes we say it's the old wine, and we have to shed that old wine and embrace the truth. And that the truth is that there are certain, like you said, stipulations that our God requires in order for us to benefit from his love. It is truly a conditional relationship.
And I don't want to take too much time, so I also want to say this. When you're talking about conditional, I even think all the way back to Abraham. He had to do certain tasks, clear certain conditions to prove his loyalty to his God before he could receive the name Abraham and be the start of this family. He had to follow conditions. So if Abraham had to follow those conditions to receive the God of Israel's support and love, why does that not apply to us?
Exactly.
That's a great point. And Abraham, God of Israel, made a covenant with Abraham, a promise that he can't go back. And Abraham was a friend, the scriptures tell us. And I think about in this whole topic, there's a verse, I can't remember where, but it talks about there is no greater love than to lay down a life for a friend. And it made me think about Abraham and him offering up his son, Isaac. And then here comes, I'm sure that is just very emotional for our God. So we see later on that he gives his son, the Christ, for Israel. Maybe perhaps remembering the promise of his friend Abraham. So it's a very good point, Levi. Abraham, it's that relationship there, that bond. He's got to remember the seed. He's got to keep this word. He's got to remember these people. And he loves this people. And he can't go back on his word. And who can understand his love? You know what I mean?
Yes, put some fires in the chat for that one. Thank you, Elder Avery. Give me some 7s and fires. If you love what you're hearing, be sure to like and comment. We have another comment. We have multiple comments coming in, so I love to see the engagement. I do want to go to slide 4 because I think this touches on to what Elder Donna was saying and is a really good closeout for our first word, which is jealous. So slide 4, this is Joshua chapter 24, verse 19 to 20. This is Joshua speaking, and it says, "And Joshua said unto the people, Ye cannot serve the Lord, for he is an holy God. He is a jealous God. He will not forgive your transgressions nor your sins. If ye forsake the Lord and serve strange gods, then he will turn and do you hurt and consume you after that he hath done you good." So in this scenario, Joshua is warning his people, the Israelites, right? The stipulations, the conditions to serve this God. And he's basically like, y'all ain't ready for this. Y'all can't serve this because let me tell you why, right? Given those stipulations, you cannot serve other gods. Otherwise, this will happen. The hurt will consume you, right? We had our 400 years for not listening to the God of Israel. We turned our back on him, and that jealousy came out, right? And because of that, we suffered. And so it's very important as we are in this new era of freedom to remember who our God is, that he's a jealous God. And so like Elder Donna said, we got to shut off all of those things that are indoctrinated in you that you see constantly just being in the world, but not of it, so that you can ensure that you are aligned with truth, because truth is the foundation for the love. So with that, go ahead. Is anyone?
No, I was just saying amen. Amen.
Okay. So with that, we're going to go into another word. Can we pull up slide 5, please, moderator? And Elder Donna, can you read for me if the slide is big enough for you?
Sure. Deuteronomy chapter 32, verse 43, it says, "Rejoice, O ye nations, with his people, for he will avenge the blood of his servants and will render vengeance to his adversaries and will be merciful unto his land and to his people."
And then go ahead and read the second
The
passage. for me.
second one is Deuteronomy chapter 4, verse 31. For the Lord thy God is a merciful God. He will not forsake thee, neither destroy thee, nor forget the covenant of thy fathers, which he sware unto them.
Love it. Love this, these verses. I feel like especially as we are coming towards the end of the time of darkness, thank the God of Israel. I'm so over this cold weather. I'm sick of it. I don't want to go anywhere. It's so annoying. But as we come towards the end and maybe you're finishing off some battles you've been holding on to, etc., I think these words are just so comforting, right? Because the God of Israel is merciful. He's merciful unto us. And you see that condition, that stipulation at the end of verse 31 for Deuteronomy chapter 4. It says, forget the covenant of thy fathers, which he sware unto them, right? Levi talked about Abraham, the patriarchs, Abraham, Isaac, Jacob. There were laws, statutes, and commandments, right, that we have to follow. And if we do, we can see some of those benefits. We receive his mercy. And not only that, he's going to avenge us. He will take care of us. And that is so comforting that if you follow what your father says, he's going to protect you. And I don't want to say that that's easy. It's not always easy. Like it was mentioned, there's separation, right? We follow a different path. But if we lean onto each other, learn our God, and hold on to what he's given us, we can receive some of those blessings that are talked about, if not all of them.
Yeah,
I agree. Again, other philosophies, those folks that follow Christianity, they always say Jesus is the answer. But the true answer is the covenant. The covenant is what is the key to unleashing the mercy that the God of Israel will give for all the times when we were disobedient, when we didn't serve him, when we followed other nations, even to this day. So we always say in this nation that the solution is to turn back to your God, the God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, and keep his covenant. So then the mercy is afforded to you. Yes, I made mistakes in the past, but I still have the breath of life to breathe. And now if I know his name, I can call upon his name. Another merciful thing in this doctrine, we can see his name. We know to face the east, to the city of Jerusalem, which again, Solomon's prayer, like we have the awareness of all these opportunities to turn back to our God so that we can have his mercy to turn this oppression around, to truly embrace our freedom and walk in the truth of who we are. Our heritage and legacy is amazing, right? There's so much that is available to us if we would just turn back to our God and keep his covenant.
Amen.
Good point. Great points. Tony Walker, we have a comment. Tony Walker says, the God of Israel can't help you when we have been taught to close our eyes, when we prayed to him, when he gave us eyes to see and ears to hear his voice. So here he gave us Elder Shadrach, he gave us the Supreme Council. Thank God that he did, to open our eyes. And when I think about his mercy, he was merciful to me in my ignorance, because I could be in the grave, not knowing who I am. So many people who have lost their lives, so many people who have went to sleep last night, even though their alarm clock went off, they did not wake up, and they will never wake up, and they will never have this opportunity to know this God. So why? That's what we need to hold on to in these difficult times as Israelites. Why did he choose me? Why did he give me this? Why isn't anyone listening? He chose me. He's merciful. Even in my ignorance, he could have said, hey, do away with him. So I think about that. And I'm grateful to, the faithfulness of my elder Shadrach, and of course, the mercy of the God of Israel.
Yes.
Yeah, I agree with you, Elder Avery. And I think sometimes, people think the opportunity is always going to be there. Like, when you start to learn, okay, I'm an Israelite, and I realize, this God is here, and, I'm learning how to serve him, but I'm just not ready yet. Like, things aren't lined up. I got to get this done and get this done and get this done. Like, but the whole idea is, the breath of life each day is an opportunity, right? It could be taken away. And for my thing is, faith without works is dead. Like, as soon as you hear this, and if it resonates with you, you need to move on it. You need to do something. You need to do something about it, because that's his mercy coming to you. It's an opportunity. I feel like it's a window that opens but closes after a certain time. So for those out there listening and this resonates with you, don't sit on it. Call that number in the chat or that you see going across the screen. Reach out to us and we will guide you back to the true and living God, the God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, because tomorrow is not promised, right? Even the spirit of truth, you could be breathing tomorrow, but the understanding that just came to you could be gone. It has to be cultivated with more truth, right? You can't just have a seed planted and not water it with the things that it needs to grow. Truth needs more truth to grow, not lies and deception. You can't be half in the world and half in the truth. It's a dividing line.
Absolutely. And we have another comment that says, the God of Israel gave me a second chance at life. I can't bite the hands that feed me on a daily. 100. Love that. Love that. True awareness of this blessing that we have received. And I love what you mentioned, Elder Donna. You know, the Spirit does move. I feel like a lot of people forget that the Spirit moves, which means it can come to you and it can also leave you. So what you said about cultivating is so important for us to keep in mind, especially during the time that we're in.
Right. And yeah, thank you, Felicia, for the $50. Awesome. Thank you so much for your donation. But I just really just want to, again, and I don't want to, beat a dead horse, whatever they say. But that the mercy that when it comes to like you're starting to understand this, you have to move on. I can't stress that enough, because that's his mercy. Because he's saying, now you have it. What are you going to do with it? Are you going to continue down that path of the lies? Or are you going to turn back to me and do what's right? Now that once you do what's right, I can forgive you of your sin. I can forgive what you did in the past, because now you're on the straight and narrow. And now I can give you that protection so that when you go out, you know what to do so that these things won't come up against you. Or if they do, you'll get a little nudge as to maybe go the other way so that you're avoiding those things. Like you lose the protection, that cloud, that pillar that brought us through to the wilderness. Like that's still with us now. That spirit it's in the nation now. And once you turn back to your God, that protection, that mercy, all of that, you have that opportunity. You have that opportunity. So grab it.
I feel the passion, Elder Donna. Put some fires in the chat for that one. And what I love that you said, or what's really highlighted here for me is, sometimes fear stops us from taking that big step. But what I hope to anyone out there that's watching, just as Elder Donna said, the fear of the God of Israel should outweigh the fear that you have to take this new step. Because again, like we mentioned, we're destroying all those maybe past thoughts that you were taught about what God is and what the truth is. And that can be scary to start over. But you will find that once you really come into this truth, that you will receive those blessings. Like Elder Donna said, you will get that protection and guidance. So let the fear of the God of Israel rule over you, as opposed to the fear of starting over, right? Because starting over is a new beginning.
Also, if I could add, I feel like one thing that is also I think already has been pointed out is when it says the covenant. I feel like someone might have looked at what was said in Joshua, how God of Israel, he has he doesn't mess around, no mercy for people who sin. But what I feel like is important there is when it says the covenant. He's going to follow his promise as it's stated in the covenant. If you keep your end of the covenant, you follow him and listen to what he says, like what Elder Avery and Elder Donna and Rachel have all been saying. You listen to him and he's going to fill that covenant to a T, and even more so. I feel like that's one thing that is really key, and I just kind of wanted to point that out real quick.
I would also like to say that the other side is the endurance. This is not a sprint. This is a race for those who here in Israel and whose faith may, be a little bit wavering. This is, it's a long, enduring race. It's not an easy race. It's a difficult race. If it was easy, everyone would be here. We got to just continue to reflect on his mercy and his truth and his love. And we got to, continue to reflect on that. And then, I think reflection is really big. But I think the world has you there's so much distraction that you're sometimes unable to reflect,
Yeah, I agree, Elder Avery. But one thing I will say is yes, we have to live in the world, and yes, we have to suffer as, so-called Black people. We have to go through the bits and trials and tribulations of racism and oppression and all that. But what I say is the beautiful thing about Israel is we have this awesome culture that is so invigorating and rejuvenating when we keep it. When we have our new moons and our Sabbath, they re-energize your spirit so that you can go back out in the world and tackle the oppression that you face. It fills your tank up, so to speak. When we celebrate, which is coming up, our Bib New Year and our Passover, a week of feasting, these are all things that rejuvenate you physically and spiritually so that you can fight against the throes of wickedness and evil. You know what I'm saying? So it's so important that we embrace our culture as Israelites, that we really get involved, engage, and put our hands to build this nation, to grow this nation, to celebrate our heritage. All these things are so important to not only helping us as a nation, but as the individual to be able to face those tribulations. We're going to face them, like Elder Avery said, that it's the endurance until the end. That means that we're going to be going through some stuff. But if we stick together as a family, united, serving our God and keeping our culture, that is what is allowing us to endure unto the end, I believe.
Absolutely. And I think this is a great segue into slide 7, moderator. We're going to skip to 7. I think we've been able to discuss anger with that jealousy. We know he can be very angry as our God. But a lot of what Elder Avery, Levi, and Elder Donna just mentioned about the covenant and love and truth, I think will really tie in to this next chapter. So this is Deuteronomy chapter 7. We're going to read verse 7 to 13. I think, again, this really paints a picture of what love is in the eyes of the God of Israel, right? So let's read. The Lord did not set his love upon you, nor choose you, because ye were more in number than any people, for ye were the fewest of all people. But because the Lord loved you, and because he would keep the oath which he had sworn unto your fathers, hath the Lord brought you out with a mighty hand, and redeemed you out of the house of bondmen, from the hand of Pharaoh king of Egypt. Now therefore, that the Lord thy God, he is God. Know therefore that the Lord thy God, he is God, the faithful God, which keepeth covenant and mercy with them that love him, and keep his commandments to 1,000 generations. We have a few more verses, but panel, I just want to get your thoughts on this powerful verse because I think it ties in beautifully to some of the comments already made.
Well, very powerful, very powerful. It moves me in my inward parts to hear this.
Yes.
You see the conditional nature of the love for our God. If you love me, you must keep my commandments. But if you do, you will have my mercy.
Yes.
It's just a powerful passage.
Absolutely.
When I read the passage myself, I think about, the world, how the world is so consumed with quantity. How much money's in your account, who scored the highest, who made the highest points, who has the record. It's always about quantity. But here the God of Israel is saying it's not because you were the most in numbers, you were the fewest. Yes. And he talks about the oath. So we see it's not quantity. He's looking at the quality, and he's looking at the quality through the covenant he made with our fathers Abraham. He looks at the heart. So your heart has to be mushy. We talk about circumcising our heart.
Yes.
And so, if you love this God, no matter who you are, whether you are Jacob or you are not Jacob, if you love this God and you want to come to serve, he's not a God that he's not concerned with how much money you have in your bank account or all the great things you've done. He just loves you based on your heart and your truth and your commitment. And that's what I love about this God.
Absolutely. Beautiful, beautiful. Levi,
I think that verse kind of just summed up everything that we've been talking about today. How the God of Israel's love, it's a bit of a two-way street. It's a I don't want to simple it down to something like a partnership, but in a way that's kind of what it is. it's a deal. It's a part of that covenant. You give your love and your commitment to him, and he'll return it back. We have to be honest with him. We have to be truthful with him. We have to be committed to him. And through that commitment, he's able to take care of us, to help guide us, to protect us. All of those blessings and benefits come from following him. And that's just that's kind of just what I feel like, especially now today, that I think Jacob needs to really understand, that having that commitment towards him and being able to, or being dedicated to trying to walk this path of an Israelite, somewhere along that line, you're going to see your life start to change for the better. It's not an easy path at all, but it's definitely the right path. And like what Elder Avery was saying, it's quality over quantity.
Exactly.
Instead of following all these other gods who may be able to promise you fame and riches, why not just follow a God who can promise you happiness, joy, longevity? And yeah, you will be rich spiritually. You'll be able to live happily here under him, following him. And even in that, who knows, maybe you will get all that fame and riches, but as long as you have but that's not really what I'm trying to say. I'm just not the point of it. But just having that connection to him is what has to be the center of everything. He's your dad. He's gonna want to take care of you, but you have to care for him too.
Exactly. It's got to be that exchange. It's a relationship. It can't just be give, and take. There has to be more to it. And
now, I was going to say, he's a just God, because there's no, I think Levi said earlier, confusion, because with this covenant, it's saying, if you do this, and you do this, then you'll be blessed, right? So you know what you can do to be blessed, and you know what you can do to be cursed. But in other philosophies like Christianity, you're doing the same thing as the other people that don't look like you, but they're getting blessed and you're getting cursed. That's why, our elder Shadrach, and such as much of his wisdom, he's saying, get out of Christianity, because it's unjust. There's no justice there. We're dealing with a God who is just and very clear as to how you can be blessed, and how you can receive mercy and forgiveness for your transgressions, and how you can sleep at night and be at peace, how you can know who your true heritage and culture is, as opposed to the injustice of Christianity and other philosophies towards the children of Jacob. Like, get out of Christianity, get out.
Absolutely, Elder Donna. Thank you for highlighting that point. And I think I saw Elder Robin also put a comment in she mentioned commitment. And I think that's such a great point, right? You have to be committed to the relationship. And so you can't just take, you have to give some as well. I want to go ahead and go to slide 8 to finish this chapter out, because it really ties in what was said previously. And it reads, and repayeth them that hate him to their face, to destroy them. He will not be slack to him that hateth him. He will repay him to his face. Thou shalt therefore keep the commandments and the statutes and the judgments which I command thee this day to do them. Wherefore it shall come to pass, if ye hearken to these judgments and keep them and do them, that the Lord thy God will keep unto thee the covenant and the mercy which he sware unto thy fathers. And then slide 9, please. Let's close it out. And he will love thee and bless thee and multiply thee. He will also bless the fruit of thy womb and the fruit of thy land, thy corn and thy wine and thy oil, the increase of thy kine and the flocks of thy sheep, and the land which he sware unto thy fathers to give thee. Such a powerful verse, chapter overall. And again, I just want to sort of summarize, here again, like Elder Donna said earlier, what we see here is that the God of Israel's love is conditional. There are rules and regulations in order to be his child. And as we see, when you do not follow those rules and regulations, the God of Israel will turn his back on us. He will turn away. And, it just reminds me, you show people how to treat you by what you allow. And I think even in this, there's a lesson of self-worth here as well. Of again, you show people how to treat you by what you allow. And if our God has conditions to his love, what more we, the high priest of this earth, right? And so again, just we are in his likeness. So let's also follow after his way. Let's follow the law, statutes, and commandments and follow the ways that he's given us through this book and keep it close to our heart as well.
Yeah, very good point. Powerful point. When I think about what you just said, conditions with our God, I think about the other gods, the small g gods. When they say love, they say, come as you are.
Mm-hmm.
Just come out of the graveyard, our elder says, right? Just came out of the graveyard, come as you are, come to the altar. You know, just got a dead body at the altar. This week, next week, we're going to have a marriage at the altar. Come as you are. So it's our God has stipulations, but they're so simple. He tells us what to eat. If it cheweth the cud and splits the hoof, eat it. Even a kindergartner can understand that. So the whole nation can understand. It's not complicated. It's love. It's you know, yeah, it's a tough struggle, but man, it's a great culture. The food. Did you see that? I love that verse. It talked about the corn and the wine.
Oil.
We had barley. I mean, the oil. I love the culture. So just wanted to make that point.
Yeah, all signs of prosperity. And I think conversely, again, when you don't do this, you don't get the love, you don't get the increase,
Yep.
you don't get the prosperity, you don't get the protection, you will suffer.
Exactly.
And you don't get the good health. And, you know, in your old age, people, oh, so-and-so has cancer, let's come and pray. No, you had all of these laws that you broke. And now here you are, and maybe not in your old age, in your young age, and you're stricken with cancer. And you want everyone to, you know, come and pray. To whom? To your God of love?
Great points. And I want to go ahead and pull up slide, I believe it is 11, moderator. And I want to ask a question to the panel because Elder Avery made a really great point. He mentioned, you know, this is not an easy path, right? But he mentioned why he loves it and loves the God of Israel. So I have this quote. Levi, can you read this quote for me? And then I'm going to ask my question to the panel in the chat.
No problem. Celebrate the important people in your life for who they are and not just for what they do for you.
Great job, Levi. So this quote was kind of inspired by something I saw on Twitter. I love Twitter. I've been off socials lately, but I think this is a really great think piece because basically the Twitter thread was explaining how a lot of times when we have a relative's birthday, right? Their birthday will come up and we'll say, for example, Mom, I love you so much because you do this for me, you do that for me, you sacrifice so much for me, and I love you. Or Dad, I love this because you provide for me, you keep me straight, like this and that. But what about loving them and celebrating for who they are as a person outside of what they do for you? And so I think it's very important to remember that when we think about our relationship with the God of Israel. Yes, he does amazing things for us. He's healed us. He's gotten here today where we can be in this truth and know who we are and navigate the world accordingly. But what would that relationship look like, again, if you took the initiative to get to know him, to just talk to him, to pray to him, to say thank you, or to even say Happy New Moon to you, God of Israel, things like that. And so to my panel, and in the comments, I would love to see and ask, why do you love the God of Israel? This is a hard path. This is a hard journey. We've seen the struggle. Like you said, it's not for the weak. It's a marathon, right? It's not a sprint. So I want to know, this is a really big question as well, so I understand. But why do you love the God of Israel?
I think it's a very interesting perspective. And I think sometimes we do tend to focus on our love based on what the God of Israel has done for us. So to just come back and have a lens of just appreciation for who he is very something to ponder on. Like, I so appreciate, like I said before, now that I have a culture, because for many years I kind of envied those that did have one. And I was like, Kwanzaa's not me. And, you know, the things that they try to give us, it just didn't fit. So when I was able to read the scriptures and see the culture there, it fit, it made sense. And I was so grateful and thankful to the God of Israel that I could see and understand and want to be a part of it. So for me, when I think about that question, I just think I need to put a lens, and oftentimes we as Israelite need to put a more of a lens of appreciation and gratitude for the God of Israel and just the foundations that he's created for us, the heritage that he has given us, in addition to the amazing things that he's done for us.
Absolutely. I love that perspective, Elder Donna. And Miss Tina Jackson, real quick, want to read. She said, because he first loved me, even when I didn't love myself. And Miss Tina, a lot of us in this nation can really resonate with what you shared. So thank you. Go ahead, Levi.
I kind of relate a lot to Elder Donna, especially being born into this. So just being raised in such a great culture, I think it really helped turn me into the man I am today. Being able to look in the Bible and just from the start, just like I said, being raised in this, I was able to look in the Bible and see me. Especially when you look in a world where you don't see a lot of yourself, able to read stories, well, not just stories, but the truth. You're able to read your history about you and your people, and you get to see how the God of Israel cared for his people. You see the highs and the lows, the ups and the downs, and that history and that background, and just the value of knowing that this is my history and who I am, and having that something to claim. I don't think I can relate to Elder Avery, Elder Donna as much because, like I said, I was born into this, so this wasn't necessarily something that I had to find. But even when I'm speaking to that, it just that's there's beauty in that itself. They were able to be led to this truth, and how that has just gone on to affect generation after generation after generation, and hopefully even more, hopefully even more generations. You know. Like he's given us that opportunity. We found out who we are, and we have the opportunity to pass that down to our kids, and then our kids, and so on and so forth. um I just kind of thinking about what you said, Rachel. It's such an interesting way and topic to think of it. Not seeing him so much as the physical, what he gives to you, but who he is as a person and what he means to you. And I guess for me, like I said, he means my culture. He's my way of life. I live and breathe this every day. So I thank him for that sense of identity.
Absolutely.
I just want to jump in because I just had a thought that came to me listening to Levi. And one of the things that I love about my God is that the things that he has us do has so much meaning. And I say that because when we think about the Passover, everything that we do has meaning. From the unleavened bread that we eat, to the lamb that we eat, to the bitters that we eat, to the shoes on our feet. Like, it's so beautiful. I so appreciate things like that in our culture, how it lines up that we're doing this in the spring at the beginning of the year. And then 7 months later, in the month of Ethanim, all that we do when we gather in the harvest of the blessings that he's given us that year, we give back and we give thanks, and what it affords our spirit for the Day of Atonement to prepare us for the time of darkness. Like, all these things are just so beautiful. It's a beautiful gift from our Heavenly Father, that what we have in this Israelite culture. I can't say enough for it.
All right. Wow. How am I going to top all of that? You know, I think about in my childhood days on the elementary playground, and it's recess time, and we're playing football, and there's two captains, and you have to pick from among all these people. And I take him. You know, all the good players pick first. I'll pick him. I'll take him. You get down to the scrubbiest ones are the last ones, right? People who are not athletic. So when I think about it, I think, Levi, you said it, opportunity. I thank God of Israel that he picked me to be on his team. And he gave me this opportunity because it's given to us, it's there, it's available for so many people. But the opportunity, why don't they come? Our elder always tells us, why is it you? You have to understand, why is it you? For those who are not born in this culture, Many of us have siblings, many of us, have friends who brought us here and they are no longer a part of this nation. So you think about that. But for me, I love him because of his long suffering. He was able to say, hey, when you think about, he predestinated us, he predestinated Israel, and he chose me to be on his team. Wow, that's a lot. He chose me to be on his team. I wasn't on the other team, and I wasn't, maybe I was one of the last guys, but it's okay. But yeah, he chose me, and because he did, I have this opportunity of literally of a lifetime.
Amen.
Absolutely. And Elder Avery, what I love is just the way you talk about being chosen, right? And knowing who you are. And I'm seeing a lot of the comments come through about, your eyes being open, being born again, being even introduced into this new doctrine by our family members, and that like sense of identity that it gave them or us here in the nation. And so I want to go to slide 12 to just really highlight the importance of knowing who our God is and the purpose of today's message here, which is what's love got to do with it? Let's get to know our Father. Let's understand what loving him really means and entails. And so here I have the 5 benefits of knowing your family history. One, it gives you a sense of identity. So I've seen that a lot come through a lot of the comments today, and even the discussion we talked about today, the pride that you feel, the hole that it filled when you saw all these other cultures celebrating them, doing things for them, but there was a loss there, and how that came and filled it. Makes you more resilient is number 2. Helps you connect with others, 3. 4, makes you a better human. And then 5, helps you make good health choices. So to my panel, I want to see, what do some of these points make you think of? What does it call to mind when you think about the benefits of knowing your family history, especially when it comes to our God and the legacy that our forefathers have left?
Mm-hmm. So I'll jump in there. When I think of number 1, can you go back to that?
Slide up, moderator.
Yes. So number 1, it gives you a sense of identity. When I think about an identity, it's your behavior, right? It's your behavior based. That your identity gives you it gives you purpose. So you have a role and a responsibility. When I didn't know this culture and didn't know who I was, my identity, I didn't have an identity. So I didn't have a purpose or role. It was just to follow. So I think first and foremost, identity, role, and responsibility. Number 2, it makes you more resilient. I think when we understand the road that we as Israelites have to take, we know it's a difficult road, but it's one that, I feel that I wouldn't turn in, because I always say this. I always say, this is what I would have done had I not known who I was. So yes, I have to endure and remember it's not a sprint. I know we all love sprints. I know we all would love to see, Priest Tyrone break the 60-second, 60-yard, 60-meter record. But it's the endurance. It's the endurance. It's the long race. And when you have to run that long race, Elder Donna, you have to build up your lungs. You have to train. You have to, get your muscles in shape. So that's what we have to understand. We connect with others. I think for me, that means to be more tolerant of other cultures, not to know that, hey, why is their women doing this? That's their culture. Be more tolerant of their culture. It makes me a better human being because I have a sense of purpose, and I understand that what I'm doing is aligned with the conditions that my Father has given me. And it helps me make good health choices, spiritually and physically. Exactly. Our God gave us the tool book or the manual script in terms of good health, physically as well as spiritually.
Exactly.
Mm-hmm.
Well, when I think about this, I don't know, I focus it on makes you more resilient, because I feel like in that all these are encompassing. And I say that because, as Elder Avery alluded, the journey can be difficult as an Israelite, which, it makes you stretch your muscles at any rate. But the resilience that you get is through the journey. But the beautiful thing is, in knowing who you are, you are equipped with certain tools that help you get through the hard times. And some of those tools are, singing, worship, prayer. When your enemies come up against you, you know what to do. You take it to your heavenly Father so that he can have the vengeance on your behalf. You don't even have to lift a finger. He can fight your battle, right? So that resilience sticks out for me because I feel like knowing your identity helps you through the tough times. Understanding that it's a family affair. Like sometimes I might call on my brethren to help me and pray for whatever situation I'm going through. The resilience makes you stronger as a person so that when some certain challenges come up, it's like, that's nothing, because you know what I've been through? Like sometimes even for me at work, I'm like, when I have to pitch something, I'm like, I had to convince people to serve the God of truth. Like, if you can do that, you can do anything. Like, walking this journey makes you so strong as a person. It gives you certain skills to hone in on that can actually help you in your kind of day-to-day life outside, I don't want to say outside of Israel because this is a lifestyle, but you know what I mean, in the world, let's say that. So I think that resilience kind of encompasses all those 5 points.
And I think I agree with you, Elder Donna, but to me, I see that all is encompassed in the number 4, making you just a better human in general. Like how you said, Israel, it makes me stronger so that when I'm able to go out into the world, I'm able to use what I'm taught and learn to achieve my goals and be successful. I see being more resilient and being more strong and headstrong and focused. Those are attributes that I've gotten from Israel and have helped to make me a stronger and just better person as a whole. And when I read the Bible and I read the covenant and commandments, like you said, everything has a purpose. And that purpose, the reason the God of Israel wrote it, the reason he did these things was to make you a better human being, to make sure that you have the opportunity to be the very best you can be. And to me, that's just what makes it so beautiful. He cares for our self-growth, just like how a parent would care for the growth of their child. They have rules and regulations to make sure that you're prepared for when you have to go out into the world and face those challenges. They prepare you for that properly. They try to do their best to make sure that you are the very best version of yourself. And to me, that's why I would probably see number 4 as more than one that encompasses everything.
Well, I'm gonna go bad on that one. I'm gonna go back to identity. I think that's the foundation of it all. I think that starts with it all. Like knowing who you are, who your God is, that's what encompasses all those 5 things. Thank you, Lindy Hale, for your donation.
Yes, thank you for the donation. I agree. I would even argue it makes you a better servant to the God of Israel. And the one that resonates with me the most is it helps you make good health choices. When I read that, it reminds me of when we had left Egypt and the forefathers built the calf, and as punishment, they had to crush up the gold and drink it. And so they were cursed. And so to me, knowing my history, knowing the history of my forefathers and the choices that they made, similar to what Elder Avery said, it helps me know what my weaknesses are, right? And what I can do and put in place to make sure that I make good spiritual choices, those health choices. When I think of health, I think of my spirituality encompassing that, right? So that I can be a better servant to the God of Israel as well. So thank you all for sharing those wonderful perspectives. I'm going to go ahead. It's story time now. We've got a lot of really great discussion, but I want to go ahead and go to slide 14. Again, in the beginning of this discussion, we just mentioned what other people's perspective is about God and how, again, he's just this being of love. He loves everybody, etc. But one thing about my father is he is a true father, okay? He is a protector. He is going to make sure what's right is right. And he is going to punish those that do wrong against his people because he's a father. He wants us to act right. And I think it's important to highlight those attributes, right? We have to know our Father so that we know how to conduct ourselves righteously, to stay in his good graces, to be humble servants unto him, but to also to be great brethren amongst each other as well. So I want to go ahead and read First Kings chapter 22. Who on my panel would like to read? And real quick, thank you, James, for the donation. We so appreciate it.
I'll read. You can go, Levi.
Thank you. Verse 13. And the messenger that was gone to call Micaiah spake unto him, saying, Behold, now the words of the prophets declare good unto the king with one mouth. Let thy word, I pray thee, be like the word of one of them, and speak that which is good.
So I want to pause here real quick. Sorry, Levi, but just as a background. So you have Ahab, who is the king of Israel at this time, speaking to, I believe it's Jehoshaphat, which is the king of Judah, and he's asking him to come to war with him, right? So he wants to so Jehoshaphat says, okay, like, what do the prophets say? What are they saying before we go into battle? And so I believe we have Micaiah speaking here. And he's sort of going to explain what the prophet said initially and what Micaiah particularly said. So Levi, you can continue with verse 14.
And Micaiah said, As the Lord liveth, what the Lord saith unto me, that will I speak. So he came to the king, and the king said unto him, Micaiah, shall we go against Ramathileged to battle, or shall we forbear? And he answered him, Go and prosper, for the Lord shall deliver it into the hand of the king. And the king said unto him, How many times shall I adjure thee that thou tell me nothing but that which is true in the name of the Lord?
So again, as a background here, that last verse, you can kind of see Ahab being like, how many times shall I adjure thee? So basically, Micaiah, the king Ahab is like, Micaiah is a bearer of bad news, okay? The prophets are telling King Ahab what he wants to hear, but whenever he asks Micaiah what's going down, what he should do, Micaiah is always telling him stuff that he doesn't want to hear. So Micaiah is like telling him, okay, yeah, like, go and prosper, you're going to deliver. And the king's like, listen, I know you. I know you. Is this true? So let's see what he says.
I just want to say that's so much like our people. I
It
mean,
is.
so us. Like, you know, we always want to hear, you know, the good stuff, but the truth hurts. The truth hurts. But
Yes.
I'd rather be on the side of truth than on the side of the lie because I know where the end is.
For me, I see the wisdom of Micaiah. You know, he knows their hearts. He knows these people.
He does.
Of course. So yeah, you're not gonna off my head. Sure, go ahead. And I don't know if it's sarcastic here, but he knows the people. And it's so funny in the beginning. He said, "Speak that which is good." And Micaiah's like, "I'll speak what the Lord tells me."
Not today. Not today.
So that's so funny to me. And again, you see the culture. Okay, yeah, go. And then he's like, he's lying because every other time he's come,
Right?
it's been negative. Not that you've done anything wrong, right? You wouldn't do anything wrong. It's just him, right? I can't stand this guy. He
Like,
always
here he
comes
comes again. Ah, man.
You can go. A king will win. I'll say that. Let's say that. Let's just say that. Someone will win.
But let's see what the truth is. Moderator, can we see slide 15? And it reads, I'll go ahead here. And he said, I saw all Israel scattered upon the hills as sheep that have not a shepherd. And the Lord said, These have no master. Let them return every man to his house in peace. And the king of Israel said unto Jehoshaphat, Did I not tell thee that he would prophesy no good concerning me, but evil? And he said, Hear thou therefore the word of the Lord. So this is Micaiah speaking. I saw the Lord sitting on his throne, and all the host of heaven standing by him on his right hand and on his left. And the Lord said, Who shall persuade Ahab that he may go up and fall at Ramoth Gilead? And one said on this manner, and another said on that manner. Slide 16. This is where it gets juicy. And there came forth a spirit and stood before the Lord and said, I will persuade him. And the Lord said unto him, Wherewith? And he said, I will go forth, and I will be a lying spirit in the mouth of all his prophets. And he said, Thou shalt persuade him, and prevail also. Go forth and do so. Now therefore, behold, the Lord hath put a lying spirit in the mouth of all these thy prophets, and the Lord hath spoken evil concerning thee. So when Ahab was getting all of those prophecies before from all of his other prophets, this is why they weren't true. And a lot of people would say, is this ethical? Is this right? Is this the God, all God loving, wants all good for everybody? Is that what we're reading here? And I do want to say, this is not unwarranted, okay? If you read the previous chapter, you'll see that Ahab had done some messed up stuff in the past, okay? There was a man, I think Naboth, who had a vineyard that Ahab really wanted. And he told his wife Jezebel about it. And she conspired and basically got the man killed so that Ahab could have the vineyard. And God of Israel did not like that. And Ahab repented, right? He put on sackcloth, asked for forgiveness, but he continued to do wickedness afterwards. And so later on in this story, you'll see that despite hearing this prophecy, he sends poor Micaiah to prison. He sends Micaiah to prison. He goes to battle, but he does end up losing his life, right? And again, I think it speaks to, again, like, as brethren, we have to treat each other right. Naboth ended up dead because of Ahab and Jezebel's greediness. And God of Israel, God don't like ugly, right? God of Israel will not cast away a perfect man, and he will not help unrighteousness. We see that in the Bible. It literally says that in our Psalms. So it's important when you don't follow the law, statutes, and commandments, those conditions for his love. What's the opposite of love? What are you going to get it? I don't know. What does my panel think of this story? What does it draw out or highlight to you?
When I was thinking about Ahab, God was waiting on this day.
All right.
He had to get his get back because Ahab has done some heinous acts throughout his entire history, and so I just said, about time, But I think it's a perfect example of what we're talking about today. His love has conditions. His love has guidelines. Even probably just a popular example, Esau came out. God said he hated him.
Yeah.
His love has guidelines. It has limitations. It's not infinite.
And he is by any means necessary for his children, the ones that he loves and that will follow his commandments. He will do whatever is necessary for them.
Absolutely. Thank you, Lindsay Smith, for the donation. Just want to call that out there.
If you are giving your all to him, he's going to give that like 1,000 times back. That's just who our God is.
Amen.
He wants to spoil us, but he can't spoil us if we're doing wrong. He can't.
And so the question, go ahead, Elder Avery.
No, it just makes me think of our elder. He always says, pray that you never be a prophet.
Yes.
Pray that you never be a prophet. We got prophets that had to show their backside, put down in a well, and here I like, oh man, can you imagine the emotions?
Just don't tell nobody.
Can you imagine the emotions? But I like the story. But it just amazes me when you speak. The prophet is supposed to be the mouth of God. So when you speak good, it's God. But when you speak the truth,
you, right?
It's you. It's the messenger. So they have a unique way of, we have a unique way as a people of distinguishing God from the messenger. So, yeah, it's very interesting to see the back scene, how it's played in the back scene, like among the hosts, who will go. God has, our elder always talks about, an evil spirit, where is he going to do? He's going to say, hey, Lucifer, can I borrow one of your spirits? He has his hosts.
Exactly.
He has an arsenal of who knows. But it's
he
great.
hardened Pharaoh's heart. He hardened Pharaoh's heart so that he can get his people out of Egypt, right? He's going to do what he has to do for his family.
By any means, like you said, Elder Donna. Absolutely. Absolutely. I know we're running short on time here, but I do want to go to slide 17 for our last little story of today, our Bible passage. Because again, we also hear with this talk of love, the idea that God loves all. And as we saw there, as we saw in the previous story, there are stipulations. God of Israel don't play. He don't play. And it's about certain people. I even saw this quote that I thought was so fair. It's like, God don't love everybody equally. And that's something we really have to get into our brains, especially being the Israelites and special people that we are. He has a chosen family. And I think this story is really going to highlight that. Who would like to read Matthew chapter 15 for me?
I will.
Thank you.
So Matthew chapter 15, verses 22 to 26, it says, "And behold, a woman of Canaan came out of the same coasts and cried unto him, saying, Have mercy on me, O Lord, thou son of David. My daughter is grievously vexed with the devil. But he answered her not a word. And his disciples came and besought him, saying, Send her away, for she crieth after us. But he answered and said, I am not sent but unto the lost sheep of the house of Israel. Then came she and worshipped him, saying, Lord, help me. But he answered and said, It is not meet to take the children's bread and to cast it to dogs."
Wow. And I do want to say,
Where's the love? Where's the love?
where's the love? Where is it? And what I will say is, if you read the full story, she does end up persuading him to heal her daughter, but she kind of has to show a lot of commitment to the God of
faith.
Israel and faith. It's because of her faith in this other God, the God of Israel, that gets her daughter to be saved. But here, verse 24 and 26, I am not sent but unto the lost sheep of the house of Israel. God don't love everybody. He don't love everybody. And then he answers, Jesus says, and it is not meet to take the children's bed and to cast it to dogs. It's not only that God of
Don't
Israel
even try it.
loves Israel, but he considers those outside of Israel like dogs. As you can see, his own son as well, right?
And
Go
you
ahead, Levi.
the crazy thing is, Jesus is what you always hear Christians talking about. Like, he's the perfect representation of love.
In the
Have
beginning,
you
right?
not heard Christ talk to his own people? Like, even just to his own people, he's got a silver tongue. I'll read some of what he says, and I'm like, dang, that hurts me. Okay,
it
like,
goes back to what you mentioned, Levi, in the beginning, simplicity, right? You mentioned how the God of Israel is he's blunt, he's straight to the point. You see it with his children, his own son. Yes.
there's no wishy-washy.
Mm-hmm.
And so he came here to do it. He said, I'm not here to save everybody. She better find someone else. She better get a doctor.
Go to your God. Go to your little G God.
Exactly. Like, that's one what I love about the Bible is it's real. It's realistic, you know? The God only cares about his family. That's like once again mentioned earlier, he made us in our own likeness. And like me, I only have care, and my love only goes towards my family. I maybe help a friend out, but my care, my love, my time, family first over everything. And it's the exact same thing with our God, the God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. Family first. His love is only for them. And even for them, it's conditional. You got to follow the laws. Because when you see Jesus going off, he's mad, he's angry, he's tearing up the temple because you're not following the laws. How is he going to be out here all lovey-dovey showing you kindness and you're defaming the temple? Like, what? How is he going to get anything done?
Paul said it. I wish myself were accursed from Christ for my brethren's sake. This is what we have to deal with, the foolishness.
Jacobites. Like, that's what you got to deal with.
But no, that was great, Levi. Go ahead.
On the flip side, you see the Christ. He is angry. He is angry with his people because of his love for his God. He came to do the will of his Father.
Great.
Jesus the Christ. So you see both sides. You see, hey, I'm angry. This is a terrible, God on one hand. On the other hand, he is the God of, keep his commandment. It really comes down to our behavior, what we do, not what we say. So if you love him, I think we read it earlier, keep his commandments. Sometimes I tell my children, they hug me, say, Dad, I love you. And I look at the trash and I say, if you love me, keep my commandments. Take out the trash.
Everybody's got to use that in the chat. Writing that down.
But no, I tend to think, like, just relating to that love anger thing, like, again, how the Christ, of course, the body was given up for us. But he was still, demonstrated his anger when we were doing wrong. But I feel the same way when, again, this young man got beat down in Memphis. I had compassion for it. But at the same time, it's like, when they had his funeral on the TV and the Christian shrine and all of that, it's like, you feel the same thing. It's like you're angry, but also you have compassion for your people that suffer. It's such a hard spot to be in. It really is.
Because you feel for them, you truly feel for them. But like you said, they're having a Christian funeral, doing all these terrible things, weakening the soul and spirit. They're actively pushing that spirit of truth out.
Yep.
And it's frustrating because I can't reach you, I can't help you, you're not letting me help you. And I just think that what everyone was saying, and just what how it relates to Christ, you see that in his action and his anger, because he wants to help you. He sees the state his people are in, but here you guys are defaming the temple, saying all kinds of blasphemy, spreading lies. Yes, it's upsetting.
And the behavior is the same. So it's not Rodney King 1992. It's Jacobites, because you have the same spirit, right? You've followed so much, you've integrated so much. Now it doesn't even have to be about so many people get caught up in skin color, right? It's the spirit. So now we see the spirit of the oppressor within our own, beating this man. Like, do you have a son? That's what I'm watching this video. Don't you have a nephew or a son?
Yeah.
Like, man, this man's crying out to his mom. Like, not one could have passion. No, you got the spirit of the oppressor, because you've embraced Christianity. You've kept the winter new year, right? You've done all the ways, the abominations, that go against our Father.
I think that's such an excellent point, Elder Avery, and it really highlights the importance of knowing your identity and knowing which Father you are going to serve, which God you are going to serve. If you're on the seat of Lucifer, as we say, the side of Lucifer, these are some of the things that you're going to experience. You're giving up that protection. You're giving up those blessings that we talked about. And if you are on the side of the God of Israel, what does that entail? What must you do to show your commitment? It's not enough to just call yourself an Israelite. It's not enough even to just be on these lives. There are laws, statutes, and commandments outside of Bible study and praying that you must keep in order to call yourself a true Israelite.
Amen.
So think about that and commit and submit to the fear of the God of Abraham, the God of Isaac, and the God of Jacob.
You got to get some fire for that. That was right on point.
Burn down the chat.
Yes, burn down the chat.
Thank you, Thomas Glover, for your donation. Thank you.
And thank you to all those that have been commenting in the chat tonight. I love the engagement. I love seeing your perspective. It's truly been enjoyable. And so I ask that you keep on getting those sevens, those fires. Make sure to like, subscribe, and share this video. To my panel, we are almost at time. I want to get your last minute thoughts. I mean, from this discussion, what are some of the things that you really want to share to the audience, or you want to leave them with remembering in terms of the God of Israel, who he is, or even what love is? I'll start with, go ahead, Elder Donna.
No, I'll start. So the title of tonight's lesson is What's Love Got to Do with It? And when it comes to the God of Abraham, the God of Isaac, and the God of Jacob, the love is conditional. We have to keep his laws, statutes, and commandments. That's how we demonstrate our love for him. And in turn, he will demonstrate his love towards us and his mercy and his protection. So that's what I would say. And secondly, I would say the God of Israel doesn't love everybody, only his children and those who are willing to serve him and keep his commandments. Those are the ones that he loves.
Thank you, Elder Donna. Who's next?
Oh, I can go.
Go ahead, Levi.
I'm gonna apologize to Elder Avery and Elder Donna real quick, because I'm just gonna take a little bit of what y'all guys were saying and kind of spin it into mine. So what you're saying about what love's got to do with it, I kind of take that back to what Elder Avery was saying about the foundation. Love doesn't have anything to do with anything if you don't have truth and at your foundation. If truth is not at the base, there is no love. There can't be no love. So if you don't have truth, you can't have love. So don't even talk to me about love if there is no truth and honesty in your words. That's what I have to say. And also, hit the like button. Let's get 100 likes. Make sure you share it. Bye. Peace.
Thank you, Levi. Elder Avery.
I think I heard my elder say one time, out of love, might have been one of his books that he wrote. He said he was making he was distinguishing between the truth and love. You would go into a courtroom, I think, and you would lie out of love. You may not tell the truth. You may lie out of love for whatever reason. It might be your son on trial, so you may lie out of the love. But again, truth is it's unconditional and it doesn't favor. I think about when David did wrong, it came on him. When Ahab did wrong, it doesn't matter. The truth is there, and it's supposed to be there to protect all of Israel, whether the poor or the rich, whether the young, the eldest, or the youngest. The truth, that's what we have to work on, especially us. We got to remember that we came here as slaves. Everything that we have learned, everything that we have embraced has been something that's given to us. We need to step outside and ask, does it make sense? Look at all the oppression that we have gone through as a people. So come to the Israelite, turn into us. Tune into us. Tune in on Friday nights, Saturday mornings. Saturday is at 2, I'm sorry. And listen to all of the videos that we have. And, that's all I have.
Thank you. I love that panel. And to close out, I just say again, get to know your God, Israel. Get to know your God. We're in the time of darkness. Our new year is about to come up. Take the time to pray. Do a prayer program. Sing. Write some poems. Do your work. Get to know him. Read the scripture and study it so you can know who your Father is, and so that can empower you. Because as we said and as we saw, when you follow those conditions that he has, when you understand this unconditional truth, you will be blessed beyond. So hold on to that.
Amen.
I thank you all for tuning in tonight. Be sure to look out for Saturday Message, which will happen at 2 p.m. Eastern tomorrow. It's going to be amazing. Thank you all for spending time with us here at the Atlanta branch. Peace.
Thank you. Peace.
Peace.
Night.